What happened next left everyone stunned. Kirk, Frost, and Mendeecees were handcuffed and escorted off the set in front of the entire production team. Fans are shocked, insiders are whispering, and now the truth behind the chaos is starting to unravel. The scene on the Love and Hip Hop set was anything but normal that day. Crew members were scurrying, cameras were shaking, and castmates stood frozen in disbelief. Word spread like wildfire. According to sources, the two reality stars got into a vicious, no-holds-barred altercation that was the culmination of years of tension. Deep-seated resentment, personal betrayals, and more. As the cameras were rolling, fists were flying, words were being exchanged, and production was in complete chaos. The police were reportedly called when the situation turned violent, and neither Kirk nor Mendeecees backed down. This isn't just reality TV drama. The story behind their shocking arrest is keep watching as we delve deeply into the fight, the fallout, and the secrets that brought everything crashing down. A chilling silence descended upon the Love and Hip Hop set as Kirk and Mindy were driven away in the back of two different police cars. The once buzzing production floor filled with lights, music, and camera chatter now felt more like a crime scene, with producers standing frozen, assistants whispering to one another, and cast members sitting wide-eyed and still trying to process what had just happened. Crew members frantically tried to determine whether the day shoot could even continue, while others just stopped what they were doing and left the set upset. Rashida was observed pacing in circles while attempting to call someone, possibly Kirk's manager or a lawyer. Her hands were shaking as she held her phone, as she was overheard muttering that Yandi was sitting on a bench outside the studio with her head in her hands. Friends attempted to console her, but she kept playing back the scene where the officers handcuffed him. "I just want to know he's okay," she said, her voice barely audible. Inside the studio, one of the show's producers was visibly shaken and began making calls too. He put on his headset and said, "We've got a real situation here. Lever is going to need to be looped in right now." The network was reportedly incensed and demanded a complete report while simultaneously rushing to decide whether they could lawfully air any footage of the incident. According to sources, some of the fight and arrest were captured on camera as the cameras were rolling during parts of the chaos. But as production attempted to reorganize, a new twist occurred. Word spread that a nearby civilian was walking. A blurry, shaky video of Kirk yelling and the police placing him in handcuffs appeared on social media within an hour after. The studio had recorded a segment of the altercation and the arrest on their phone. As anticipated, the video went viral right away and was shared, reposted, and dissected on all platforms. Kirk Frost gets arrested. One fan tweeted, while another wrote, "This season be wild if they air this." Meanwhile, at the local police precinct, insiders at the station claimed that Kirk remained defiant as he was being booked, asking repeatedly why Mendeecees weren't the only ones being arrested. "Why am I here?" He allegedly shouted, "Lawyer, not saying a word without my attorney," he told the officers back on set. Kirk and Minds were also placed in holding cells, and their mugshots were taken. Images that would soon make their way online, causing even more buzz and backlash. One crew member reportedly stated, "People are going to tune in now like never before," while another said, "But not everyone saw this as entertainment." Tammy, a stylist on the show, shared on her Instagram story, "This isn't Tib. This is..." Producers wanted to ensure everyone's safety going forward and tried to salvage what they could of the season. Some cast members were too shaken to speak, while others privately admitted that the incident might be a blessing in disguise for the show's ratings. Fans reshared her post, particularly those who were starting to voice concerns about the cast's mental and emotional health. Some even started online petitions asking that the upcoming season be postponed so that viewers could consider the message they're sending. At the Frost household, Rashida returned home later that evening, clearly exhausted. She reportedly told friends she couldn't sleep because she was worried about what this would mean for their family's reputation. The video was already making the rounds online, and Kirk's teenage kids had already seen it. One of them asked, "Is Dad going to jail?" According to a family friend, Rashida was doing her best to keep things together. But sources say she was upset that it had come to this point and blamed production for not intervening sooner. Yandande, meanwhile, went back home without making a public statement. Her team sent out a brief message saying Yandande Smith Harris appreciates the As Night Fell. Fans continued to check their feeds for updates. Hashtags like #KirkFrost, #Mendeecees, and #LoganHickla began to appear. In private, Yandande reportedly spoke out against Kirk and the entire production team, saying, "This isn't just drama for ratings. This is our real life." They knew the tension was real and allowed it to build. There was another shock when one of the Love and Hip's top executive producers told a tabloid anonymously that Kerr and Mendy had been warned just a week earlier to calm down. Major entertainment blogs picked up the story, each with their own spin. One outlet claimed Kirk had completely lost it, while another hinted that this feud had been simmering for months. Conspiracy theories even started to circulate. Some fans thought the whole thing was staged for the cameras, while others insisted the emotions were too raw to be fake. Kirk was given one phone call at the precinct, and he used it to talk to Rashida. Their conversation was reportedly tense. And Kirk was upset not only about being arrested, but also about the media circus erupting outside. "They're making me look like the villain," he said, adding, "We saw this coming, but no one thought it would end in arrests." This revelation sparked even more backlash from fans who accused the show of putting their cast members in danger and poking the bear for ratings. His lawyer arrived and briefed him on the charges of disturbing the peace and resisting detention. Although the charges were not serious, the public nature of the arrest and the harm to his reputation were undeniable. And they could affect everything: endorsements, future deals, even the next season. By midnight, both men were released on bail, but not before signing a notice that said they were legally prohibited from engaging in any more physical altercations. The night may have ended, but the storm was far from over. Within hours, news outlets started releasing exclusive photos of the two men in handcuffs, along with leaked set footage showing fragments of the altercation. The production team was also warned by local authorities about maintaining safety on set as Kirk and Mendeecees left the precinct. Photographers surrounded them, shouting questions, and neither man responded. Kirk got into a waiting sub with Rashida, while Mendeecees left in a separate car with his lawyer. NBC's cryptic tweet, "People are going to learn not to play with fire," was quickly removed, but not before it was screenshotted and shared everywhere, raising even more questions. What did he mean? Who was he talking about? Kirk, the producers, or someone else? What had begun as just another day on the Love and Hip Hop set had become one of the most talked about events in the show's history, leaving fans, cast members, and the production crew to deal with the fallout. Deal with the fallout from a day that will never be forgotten. Producers attempted to calm Kirk Frost down, but he kept muttering under his breath, "Nah, he ain't getting away with that. Not today." After Kirk Frost stormed off the set, visibly shaken and clutching his arm from the earlier scuffle, Mendeecees stayed behind, still breathing heavily, pacing back and forth like a caged lion. Cameras were rolling, but no one was thinking about the show anymore. It was real. The energy had changed. Just when everyone thought it was over, Kirk reappeared with two crew members trying to stop him. "Save again. Say that about my family one more time," Kirk yelled, pointing a trembling finger at Mendeecees. Mendeecees' eyes narrowed and he raised his hands. "You want to go again, huh? You really want to go there? Stop it, both of you. Stop it right now. This isn't worth it." Rashida, who had been standing off to the side with security, rushed forward and yelled, "Stop it!" However, it was too late, and Kirk lunged forward, this time with fists flying. There was no turning back. This wasn't just a small altercation akin to reality TV. It was a full-fledged street fight taking place on a production set. Crew members screamed, others fled, and others attempted to break them up. But the two men were locked in a vicious exchange that was driven by pride, rage, and a host of other unsaid tensions. Chairs were knocked over, equipment crashed to the ground. Someone dropped the light rig, which shattered and sparked. Chaos ensued, and then someone yelled, "Call the police! They've lost it!" Subsequently, the atmosphere changed from tense to downright terrifying. The producers were huddled, frantically whispering about legal liabilities and what would happen if the footage leaked. Meanwhile, Kirk had landed a punch square on Mendeecees' jaw, sending him staggering backward. However, the Mendeecees returned with equal force, slamming Kirk into a nearby table that shattered under their weight. Security finally swarmed in, yanking the men apart with full force. Kirk was held back by 3 people. EC, with blood streaming down the side of his face, was dragged away in the opposite direction. "You think you're untouchable," Kirk screamed. "You think you can walk in here and talk about my wife and my family and get away with it?" Mendeecees, breathless but defiant, spat back. "You don't know what respect is. That's your entire problem." It was a verbal battle that was now reverberating off the set's walls as the crew stood stunned. Rashida was crying. This show is supposed to be about healing and growth, not this. She sobbed while clutching her phone. Someone gave her a towel and let her off set. Cameras had long since stopped rolling. But someone, possibly a crew member, had taken out their phone and begun filming. Within minutes, the clip was being shared in group chats. The cast group text exploded, with Yan Dandy sending a series of question marks, Bambi asking if it was real, Safari dropping the shocked face emoji, and someone else warning, "The network isn't going to like this." Sirens sounded outside the building, and the police quickly arrived. Everyone stood silently, watching the door. And then, when no one could believe what had happened, to patrol cars screamed into the lot and 4 officers leaped out. "Where are the people involved in the altercation?" One of them barked as they walked quickly toward the production team. A shaken producer pointed when the police arrived. Chilling, the lead officer walked up to Kirk and Mendeecees, who were still spitting insults at each other across the room, and asked, "Gentlemen, what happened here?" Kirk began to explain, but the Mendeecees interrupted him, saying, "He put hands on me first. Check the cameras, they've got the footage. We'll review everything," the officer said. The officer firmly said, "For now, both of you need to come with us." Guests filled the room. No one expected it to go this far. Even the most dramatic hip-hop and love scenes never resulted in actual arrests. Kurt froze. Wait, you're serious?" Mendeecees looked equally stunned, eyes darting around the room for support. "Nah, we can talk this out. Hi, I'm not going to jail for this clown, sir. Please cooperate." Renowned for his previous legal issues, he was being brought away in front of the cast and numerous onlookers. While some staff members attempted to avoid looking, others couldn't stop watching, and phones were taken out once more, even though the producers yelled, "No filming." Fans outside the concert sensed something was wrong, but it was too late. A crowd had gathered by the gate, and when Kirk and Mendeecees were led away in handcuffs, chaos broke out. Some fans cried, while others yelled praise or disapproval. "Mendeecees sees you better than this, Kirk." And then one voice broke through the clamor, saying, "This is the end of love and hip-hop for real." The show was already being criticized for fusing reality and fiction, and now 2 of its biggest stars were getting into police cars. Rashida ran outside to beg the officers to give her a moment to talk to Kirk, and they gave her one. "Baby, I'm going to fix this," Kirk said to her, his voice cracking. "Tell the kids I love them." Rashida nodded. The tension on the set was evident as Kirk Frost and Mendeecees stood face to face, their voices rising in anger. As the heated exchange intensified, everyone watched, but no one anticipated what would happen next. Mendeecees, meanwhile, said nothing, and simply looked straight ahead, his jaw clenched as if already bracing for what would happen next. Because once the arrest footage went viral, everything would change forever. The air was thick with animosity, and Kirk's face was flushed with rage. His hands were shaking as he pointed angrily at Mendeecees. "You think you're the only one who's been through it?" Kirk spat, his words cutting through the noise of the crew trying to intervene. "You don't even know what real loyalty is," he said, abruptly snapping. "Loyalty, Kirk. You've been playing everyone around you, including your own family. Don't act like you're some saint." When Kirk stormed closer to Mendeecees, tensions reached a breaking point. "You think you can call me out like that on camera?" NC shot back, his tone seething with frustration. Fans who had gathered outside the set were already buzzing on social media, speculating about the cause of the fight. Some blamed Rashida, Kirk's wife, while others thought it was due to old grudges and unresolved issues between the two men. "You are a complete phony," Kirk yelled, pushing Mendeecees' heart in the chest. The sound of the shelf echoed across the set, and everyone froze for a moment, unsure of what would happen next. Mendeecees staggered backward but quickly regained his balance, his anger flaring as he moved to confront Kirk. "Don't ever lay your hands on me, Kirk," one of the production assistants whispered into a radio, but it was too late. Kirk's emotions had already reached a boiling point. Without warning, he lunged forward again, but this time it was Mendeecees who took the initiative. In a single quick motion, Mendeecees shoved Kirk, sending him crashing into a set prop. The crew, who had initially stood back, rushed to separate the two men. The situation was rapidly spiraling out of control. "We need to get security in here." The police had been called to the set after security reported the altercation. And officers arrived just as the two men were still exchanging heated words. The atmosphere was filled with uncertainty as the crew tried to calm down both parties. But there was no stopping the storm that had been unleashed. "This is insane," one crew member muttered as he watched the officers move in. "I've never seen Kirk. It's like a war zone." Sensing that the situation was unstable, the officers started talking to Kirk and Mendeecees right away in an attempt to defuse the situation. "What happened here?" one of the officers asked in a firm but composed tone, while Kirk was furious and pointing the finger at Mendeecees. "This man has been disrespecting me for too long. He's got no respect for anyone, especially not me." As the officers attempted to mediate, it became evident that both men were equally responsible for the situation. Kirk's temper, which had been building for months, finally erupted, and I responded. Mendeecees visibly upset, but trying to keep his cool. "Kirk's been lying about me and my family for months. He's been throwing me under the bus at every turn, and I'm done with it." It's time someone stood up to him. His reserved demeanor had reached a breaking point when the two men's long-running rivalry erupted in front of the entire production team and a stunned audience. Security attempted to defuse the situation, but the damage had already been done. Kirk and Mendeecees, once-aligned allies in the reality TV world, were now enemies, their hostility leaking into the public eye. The cameras that had been trained on the day scenes were now turned off, but the damage had already been done. The drama that had been building for months had finally exploded, and it was obvious that the fallout would be far-reaching. The production team moved quickly to wrap things up, but the atmosphere on set was irrevocably changed. Later, footage of the altercation would surface on social media, causing a frenzy among fans and followers of the show. "Did Kirk just push Mendeecees?" one fan tweeted, while another added, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen on Love and Hip Hop." In the meantime, back at the production office, Rashida was receiving calls about the incident. Her face fell when she heard the news. "What do you mean Kirk got into a fight with Mendeecees?" Her voice trembled with disbelief. It was difficult to believe that the man she had married, the father of her children, was capable of such violence. But as the details of the altercation unfolded, she realized the tension that had been building while the officers discussed what to do next. Asterisk as the drama unfolded. Fans and followers of the show couldn't stop talking about what had happened. The hashtag Kirk and Mendeecees fight went viral, with fans speculating about the cause of the altercation and what it meant for the future of Love and Hip Hop. The situation was far more complicated than she had initially thought. Emotions ran high as she processed the shocking turn of events. Kirk, who had always been the calm and collective figure on the show, had finally lost his temper. Men, who had been under fire for his previous actions, was now at the center of an even bigger storm. The truth was far more complicated. And only time would reveal the full extent of the damage caused by this explosive confrontation. The aftermath of the fight would shake the entire Love and Hip Hop franchise, with the police involved and both Kirk and Men facing serious consequences. The future of the show seemed uncertain, but one thing was certain: the show had reached a new level of drama and fans. Rumors spread like wildfire, with some claiming that the fight was staged for drama and others believing that it was a real, unplanned eruption. As the police were wrapping up their interrogation, Kirk, Frost, and Mendeecees were told to calm down and move aside. But it was evident that this incident was just the beginning of a much larger fallout. Kirk, still fuming from the heated exchange, couldn't believe what had just transpired. Kirk muttered to himself, shaking his head in disbelief. "This is all Men's fault," Kirk said, unable to believe what had just happened. Mendeecees, who was equally furious, was trying to make sense of what had just happened. "I can't believe Kirk actually put his hands on me," Men thought, his mind racing. "I've always tried to keep my cool, but he's been pushing me to the limit for far too long. This time, I'm done." The tension between them was evident, and neither of them was willing to back down. As the situation unfolded, the production crew frantically tried to make sense of the chaos. "We've never had anything like this before." The behind-the-scenes drama was just getting started. The altercation between Kirk and Mendeecees was no longer a one-off incident. It had become the center of the entire production, with everyone involved feeling the pressure. Back at the Love and Hip Hop production office, one of the producers whispered to a colleague, "This is bad for the show. Bad. For the network, they're going to want answers." As the team discussed how to handle the fallout, there were whispers in the room. One executive said, "We need to figure out how to spin this. The fans are going crazy, and the last thing we want is for it to become a scandal that could ruin the show." Another executive suggested that we use as a storyline. "Fans love drama, so we'll definitely get them talking." The decision was made quickly. The network would turn the altercation into a storyline, adding fuel to the fire and keeping the drama going. The show had always relied on high-stakes drama to keep viewers interested, but now it was more than just entertainment. It was a spectacle, and the stakes had never been higher outside the studio. It was a risky move, but one that could keep Love and Hip Hop in the spotlight for weeks to come. The producers were already planning the next episode, with the dramatic confrontation between Kirk and Mendeecees at the forefront. However, this wasn't just any episode. It would be a turning point in the ongoing drama between the two men. One headline read, "Love and Hip Hop Drama Explodes. Kirk, Frost, and Mendeecees' Shocking Fight." Another read, "The fans who had been eagerly awaiting the next episode were now even more invested in the drama. I can't believe Kirk did that." The media frenzy was only getting worse. Tabloids and entertainment websites were overflowing with articles about the fight, all of them more sensationalized than the last. Kirk, Frost, and Mendeecees arrested on the Love and Hip Hop set. As more information became available, the commotion surrounding the incident only intensified. It turned out that Kirk and Mendeecees had been at odds for months, with tensions reaching a breaking point. This didn't just happen. One fan tweeted, "This is insane. I need to know what happens next." Another wrote, "Love and Hip Hop has never been this crazy. What is going to happen to Kirk and Mendeecees now?" Overnight, an insider with knowledge of the situation disclosed that Kirk and Mendeecees have been at odds behind closed doors for some time, and that this altercation was the culmination of all the pent-up resentment. The insider also implied that the fight was about more than just personal grievances between the two men. It was about power and control in the hip-hop and love world. Mendeecees has been attempting to replace Kirk on the show for some time, and Kirk is aware that he has been making moves behind Kirk's back. Concerning the behind-the-scenes drama only served to stoke the flames, and fans were quick to take sides. While some supported Kirk, calling Mendeecees a traitor who was attempting to overthrow the original Love and Hip Hop cast, others sided with Mendeecees, who said Kirk had been nothing more than a manipulative figure who had always attempted to control the show's narrative. The feud had escalated into a full-fledged war, and the fans were ready for it. Meanwhile, Kirk and Mindy were each coping with the fallout in their own ways. As he paced his hotel room, Kirk thought, "I've got to fix this. I can't let Mendeecees get the upper hand." He realized that the fight had changed everything, and now it was up to him to decide how to proceed. Would he apologize and try to salvage his relationship with Mendeecees, or would he double down and take the feud to the next level? The family man on the show was now dealing with a serious crisis. His reputation had taken a huge hit, and he knew that he had to do damage control if he wanted to remain relevant in the love and hip-hop world. "This isn't over," Mendeecees thought. "Kirk's not going to let me get away with this. But I'm not backing down, despite the fact that he had gained some support from fans." Kirk was a powerful figure in the hip-hop and love world, and Mendeecees had just made an enemy of one of the show's most influential stars. He wasn't going to let Kirk walk all over him because he knew that this fight would determine his destiny on the show. As the drama progressed, one thing became evident. His fate, Kirk and Mendeecees, now held the reins of love and hip-hop. Their rivalry had enthralled viewers, and the show's future hinged on how they handled the fallout. Would they make amends? Or would their conflict destroy the show they both helped create? As the days went by, fans anxiously anticipated the next episode. Wondering what would happen next, would Kirk and Mindy see each other again? Would they finally confront their problems? Or would their feud escalate? Only time would tell, but one thing was for sure: the drama on love and hip-hop was far from over. Menk and Kirk Frost's rivalry has reached an unimaginable height, and we're all left wondering how this will play out. The drama is at its height, and we're only just beginning. What do you think will happen next? Do you think Kirk and Mindy's friendship will ever be restored, or will it end forever? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you're enjoying this drama, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest rumors and shocking turns in the world of love and hip-hop. We assure you that the upcoming chapter will be even more insane. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more astounding updates and behind-the-scenes information.